some of this. What's a future? Vaughn Coleman.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. How you guys doing? I hope you're doing well. Welcome to yet another episode of Vaughn Coleman Presents. Another episode today. We are at 56. We're flying through them, man. And we got more guests on the way, but this is an important one. He's been on the show before. But, and I know there's a theme of the day. It is sexy chicks is actually the theme of the day, which, I'm not going to complain about, actually. It's a nice theme. So we had one girl who was drawing Tifa Lockhart. Actually, I'd love to see... I wonder if Nick has drawn Tifa. I'll have to figure that out. But more importantly, he's drawn Purity. And if you don't know what Purity is, this is a book you're going to want to look out for. Primarily, of course, because I'm editing it. Now, jokes aside, it was a good IP before I came on. Obviously, like any editor, I want to bring it to the next level. But Purity is a really good book. But before we talk about this book that I'm involved with, I want to talk about this book that I am writing and publishing. It is my own IP, and it is Phenomenova. So, those of you guys that don't know about Phenomenova that are tuning in for Nick, first of all, hi, how are you? Hope you're doing well. Check out Phenomenova right here. So, Phenomenova is set 20 years after World War III and follows the idealistic son of a war hero who is struck by lightning while holding a mysterious crystal, and he finds himself awakening with lightning powers and lightning speed. And so he decides that he wants to set out on his own, and inspired by the brave superheroes that fought during World War III, he decides he wants to be like them, so he puts on a makeshift costume and strikes out to stop a heist at a nuclear reactor, but finds himself coming face to face with the supervillain that is totally out of his league. And if you like this bit of art right here, well, you're in luck, because that is going to be the exclusive trading card art for this book, but you have to back day one and back from the mailing list to get on it. And the mailing list will update you on everything. So the comic is going to be launching April 19th. There will be multiple covers, two of which are going to be announced. But you could see the main cover, and then you've also got a variant cover right here. And because I know Nick is a QB, and a lot of Qbert students might be watching it, or just artists in general might be watching this stream, well, there is also a fan art contest. All of the details can be found on the sign-up list for all these things. And the winner of the fan art contest will not only be announced on socials, but also... they will, most importantly, the winner will be featured in the book. So if you want that, definitely get on that. Make sure to join the mailing list, because if you back day one and put in the special code, like I said, you will be able to get this exclusive free trading card. All variant covers will be campaign exclusive. Check this book out, and I hope to see you guys on there. Join the mailing list, and all the information is on there. But anyway, that's enough about my written work, my published work. Now let's make sure that you guys check out this guy's book. And I gotta hire him for something at some point. I think I was gonna hire him to color something, and I think I've talked to him multiple times, and every time the schedule just didn't quite work, which means I'll get him eventually. But we're working together on his book, so it's fine by me. Ladies and gentlemen, the one and only. I should really add applause sound effects or something to bring in my guests. I have nothing. I have this ego boost for myself. Anyway, how you doing, Nick?
How's it going, man?
It's going well. It's going well.
Yeah. Thank you for the intro, and also I wanted to say, on backstage, I was looking, and let me tell you, that book is evolving by the day. Every time I see you post something for your book, I'm like, holy shit, this book is looking phenomenal.
Thank you, man. Yeah, it's really, I'm really impressed. We hit 40 pages. That's another thing. The book will be mostly done by the time it launches. So I'm very excited. It already is. Does it count as mostly done? It's written. It's starting to get lettered. It's 26 pages colored. So
I'd say you're a good chunk done, maybe over halfway.
Yeah. It is going to be a very solid book that I'm excited for, obviously. But this book, let's talk about Purity. I have to normally pull up Kickstarters in a different tab because, or in a different thing. But first of all, Normally they have the names on screen. I took them off, and I'm trying to. Hang on, how do I? I think I did.
There you go.
I also muted myself in the process. Okay. Hang on. This is a consummate professional here, ladies and gentlemen. So, Nick, tell the audience, in case they don't know you, a little bit about yourself before we
All
get
right.
into it.
So I'm Nick Caponi. I'm your friendly neighborhood colorist. I'm primarily a colorist. I've colored for Image, Archie, Dynamite. I've colored for Source Point, Scout. With the Scout controversy, yes, I did get paid by Scout, so we're
Wait,
good.
what happened?
Oh no, basically like an aftershock controversy where like they weren't paying artists or something like that. It was like a wild thing, and like they owe so many artists a lot of money, and uh like I said, I personally never had an issue with Scout, but I worked with Scout like 3 years ago, so it wasn't.
Okay.
This is like new. So, but yeah, like I'm primarily a colorist by trade, but I'm also a creator. I am a penciler. I'm not really the best inker, but I do ink if I have to. I'm the co-creator of Reign of Ages, put out by Sonoma Publishing, written by Sam Quinton, which is my very first Bad Girl book. It's more high fantasy, very ElfQuest meets Lady Death. And I'm also the creator of Purity. And I'm also, and I always like to say it loud and proud to every show, every convention I'm at, I'm also a proud graduate and a proud instructor of the Joe Kubert School of Cartoon
Hell yeah.
Graphic Art.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Look at that. It's got quite the resume already at this young age. And the colors are great. I'm learning, especially because the colors of my book are very. I think I remember it being like, hey, what do you think of this colorist? Like before I hired
Yeah.
him. I mean, Jesse Hagee is so good, dude.
Yeah.
He's the praise he's been getting on his stuff.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and you know something like just like a quick colorist thing too. It's like I'm a firm believer. I'm biased because I am a colorist, but a colorist can really make or break a book.
Oh,
And
100%.
I think your colorist is really taking the art to the next level. Like I'll tell you from a fellow colorist, you are in very good hands.
Thank you. Yeah, I agree. I was telling him earlier today. I'm like, dude, everyone loves your work. I'm like, I really hope I get you back
Yeah.
for the next issue. I'm like, listen, if there's anything I could do, anything I'm ever doing wrong, you gotta let me know because I gotta keep this man. He's so good.
Yeah.
His colors are amazing, dude. But anyway, enough about that. Let's talk about yours because yours are great. So Purity issue. When I had you on the first time, you were making Purity issue 1.
Mhm.
Well, now here we are in the second one, and look, I've come up in the world. We both come up in the world. So I am now part of the team. I am editing the book. So, which has been really fun. It's a really fun book. I've wanted to work on it. Technically, actually, my first book was a Bad Girl book, I guess, because it was Western. I don't know if that counts as Bad Girl. I'm gonna say it does. It was a
Bad girl
Western.
could be bad girl
Yeah.
could be anything as long as you meet that criteria of like the sexy badass female character.
Yeah, it counts.
You got a bad girl book.
Yeah, so my first book writing work is that, but now I'm working on this one, and it's really a fun book to work on. Nick has been great, and it's really cool. So I guess, and we could talk about our creative process, kind of, and because I think it's an interesting thing, and I'd love to have the whole of Team Purity on here. What the hell did I just do? Did you see that?
Yeah,
That
it was like
annoying.
very trippy.
I don't like. Oh, you know what I did? Wow, I didn't know I could do that to mess with people from now on. I just discovered. All right, that'll be fun.
There you go.
So Purity right here is
Yep.
if you check it out, go to Kickstarter.com. We have 90 backers. Let's see if we can get to 100. And we can take a look at the tiers. But Nick, let's tell everyone about this book. What's it about?
So, in long story short, it's about revenge and redemption. It's about a Puritan girl named Margaret Adams who is wrongfully accused of witchcraft and killing a child for a blood oath, and it actually was her sister. and her sister framed her in a deal with the devil, literally, for the gift of immortality and beauty. So, unfortunately, our very own Margaret Adams faced the consequences and went to the underworld instead of her sister. And she was tortured, she was enslaved, she was treated so poorly and starved for over 500 years until one day she had it. And she decides, I didn't see my sister come down here yet, so I'm going to come up and go get her. And she finds out the reason why she was down there. And this pure soul, who now goes by Purity, is enraged and she wants to get even. She wants to go back up and reclaim her sister and bring her down and replace their souls. And so she can cross over and live a fulfilling afterlife. And in the process of doing so, she runs through the gates of hell, very like Little Nicky style. If you're a fan of that Adam Sandler movie, Little Nicky, she runs through the gates of hell and escapes, freezing the gates in the process, so no new souls can fuel Satan's power, and Satan does not like that. So, which brings us into issue 2, where Purity wakes up into this world that's not really her familiar Salem anymore, but it's actually Salem 2096. We are in the future, in the very distant future from the 1600s, where the story starts off at. And Purity is on the hunt for her sister, trying to adapt to her new surroundings. But what she doesn't realize, she's also being hunted as well by some bounty hunters that Satan also send up to retrieve her.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things I will say that I really liked about Purity is this setup. I think like you explained it to me the first time, but I don't think I fully appreciated how unique the setup was until I was reading it. And I think we talked about this on the phone that there are so many bad girl books out, right? Like I
Mm-hmm.
remember when I was coming up with my own, which I do intend on doing a full book, but one thing at a time, right?
Yeah.
Which I think it'll be easier to sell the bad girl book. Not to say it's easy, but listen, if I'm a man and I'm looking at two IPs and I just have to pick based on the cover, I guarantee you I'm going to pick the one with the hot chick,
Yeah.
right? Unless
Yeah.
the other one is really interesting, I'm probably going to do that. But anyway, I was like, okay, as a writer, at least, when I'm looking at it, because as an artist, I'm sure whether the character's interesting or not, she's going to be interesting to draw.
Mhm.
But I do remember Bobby, my inker, going, dude, can we draw more of this? This is very fun. you know?
Yeah.
Um, but I remember that he was that I was like, okay, this is gonna get boring because I'll look at her, but all the time I'm spending typing, I'm spending figuring out the story. That's not, and so you're not seeing her. Now, when you see her come to life, it's great. And so I think being in that process really tests the merit of a bad girl character on if they could stand. Like Witchblade, Sarah Pazzini is a very good character. Ana
Yeah.
Ishikawa is a very good character. I do want to get into Lady Death. I know that's your biggest influence. I was just reading some Shisen Ryaku earlier. Like there's a I don't know if you ever got that omnibus. It's
Oh
pretty
yeah,
good.
I have it all the way over there. I have the omnibus and the Senryaku. Uh,
It's good.
yeah,
That's gonna be a fun one to get signed too.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and you know what? You mentioned almost like the trifecta of the inspiration behind Purity, because the one I'm very I proudly say I wear my inspirations on my sleeve, and it's
Mm.
because it's kind of like a revere. I want to acknowledge the greats in that genre, and there's so many. And I'm not trying to sound petty or dickish when I say this, but in today's time, the, people are under the impression that you could always just put out a bad girl book and it will sell, and
Yeah.
but the one thing that they're missing, and why someone like Billy or Brian Polito or like Mark Silvestri, when they put out their bad girl books, why they've remained everlasting and
Right.
had a following. Yeah, the sexiness is still there, but there was substance to the story. There was substance to their book, everything. There was a reason for. And, I feel like in more of today's times, you're noticing a lot of people who are putting out bad girl books, that's not the priority. Like there was a book I saw scrolling on Kickstarter that was just about, like, it was a bad girl book, but the topic was boobs. There was no plot. There was, and like I said, boobs are great. we all love boobs. I love boobs, but like,
Right.
you know,
But you have to read eventually.
you have to read it eventually. And I think, you read you read Lady Death, you read Witchblade. There's substance to it. There's good story behind it. And that's what I wanted to incorporate with Purity, where it's like a nice balance. Like it, making a bad girl book on a surface level, I tell people might look fairly simple, but the great bad girl books are the ones that you have to sit down, think about the story, the evolution of the character, and then you could add all the little bad girl tidbits to it. But that's why I'm like very passionate about this genre, because at a very young age, I was reading those books, and whether if it was deemed my sexual awakening as a kid or just I loved the stories, regardless, it was just a very prominent story. And especially too, my gateway to that was Jim Ballin's Catwoman run. My first ever comic I bought in a shop, I was like 9 or 10. It was Catwoman number 13. It was around the era arc where Catwoman was fighting, I think, Azrael. She had this like mechanical hand, but it was Jim Balance run, and I was like, man, like, and at a very young age, I just appreciate the female form and everything. And as I was reading those comics, I'm like, yeah, like the story's also freaking great too, and the art rocked, and sexy chicks, but it had substance, and that's why I think what I'm trying to do with Purity is really incorporate that substance in the story.
I remember I gotta get him on. I keep putting him off, but Vengeance of Vampirella. I haven't read the '90s series yet. I was like, oh, I'll get to it eventually. It's been a year, so I really should just have them on, and then if I read it later, I read it later. But Vengeance of Vampirella #1, when they were bringing that back, that issue was special to me because it was like she was barely in it, but it was just like this grandma narrating how Vampirella meant something to these people. And it
Yeah.
was this like world where it was taken over by like these demonic people, and I was like, holy crap.
Yeah.
That's dope.
Yeah, and Vampirella, people, and this is like a weird hot take of mine, but people will say that Vampirella was the OG bad girl comic. And I could agree, but I really think, she was more of a cult figure, a cult classic, but I really think Lady Death was the one who kind of really like commercialized and put the bad girl genre on the map in the 90s, because there were Vampirella comics in the 90s. People were still cranking them out. I forgot who owned Vampirella at the time was putting them out, but Harris
In the
Comics,
90s.
yeah. But really, it was Lady Death that was like, and then Lady Death, and then when Image came about, uh, Witchblade. So like those two, I think Lady Death put it on the map, and then Witchblade really commercialized it into more of the mainstream light. Like Witchblade was everywhere.
I gotta
So
finish. I had the omnibus. Did I leave it downstairs? I gotta get back to that Witchblade, man. It's so good, that series. It's just well written too, and that's the thing. And I think I want to say, working with you on this, I just want to really appreciate the premise. I mean, dude, we got with Purity. It's okay. So you got Salem, but then you also got the futuristic elements. You got the hell elements. You got the and there's other elements at play that I won't spoil, but it's like mixing Salem with the future. You didn't just bring her into the modern day, which is what a lot of characters do. That you brought her into the future, past and future. You have some religious components. I mean, like, what really made you want to meld all these things? It's a very unique melting pot with a hot chick. I mean, that's
So it was definitely an idea I had way back in like 14 years ago. I was always, and I think my upbringing since I was like an emo kid, I always wanted like that edgy character. And I wanted to combine that with like I was a history buff in high school, and I was always fascinated by the Salem witch trials. And I always had this character kind of like on standby. I was going back and forth with it throughout the years. When I was a student at Qbert, there was a brief moment where I was really drawing her, and then I just kind of put it down. And then, after the success of Reign of Ages, 8 years later from when I graduated, I decided my time is now. But I wanted to give a new, refreshing twist to the character. And so I thought having that jump of, going from the past to like the extreme future for Purity, at least, because, as scary as it sounds, 2023 to 2096 isn't super far,
Oh
but
man, it's not.
I
I'm
know.
gonna be old as hell by then, though.
Me too. But from the 1600s to then, having that jump, it allows the character to grow in a way where she has to adjust to her surroundings. And I feel like by adding that element, it adds another layer to the character.
The fish out
And
of
then,
water. Yeah.
yeah, and then even, and I'll be very honest, and I actually was telling this to someone recently, but another challenge I had writing this was, obviously incorporating religion. Growing up, I was a Roman Catholic background, very religious, and there were some liberties I wanted to take with this story, and there's that little shadow over my shoulder saying, "Are we trying to get excommunicated today?" And I'm like,
Right.
but I love all the stories, and I don't even want to call it like scriptures and folklore. I don't even want to call it folklore, but like all the biblical stories. And I feel like incorporating that in more of a modern futuristic setting as well. It was a challenge, but I thought it was really cool. And then even to introducing Satan was also a big hurdle for me, because people don't realize when you give a character a god complex, and you give when you create a character where essentially no rules apply, uh, it's weirdly challenging, because the, there there isn't like a level of reason that you have with this character. So, like, for example, the Satan in my story, and it's more displayed in the covers, for example,
Tell me more.
her hellish nuns, those are her minions. She can kill them. Like, there's one cover, the Len Danovich cover, going down, 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 right there. There's a bunch of headless hellish nuns. Those are her minions. But you know what? She doesn't care, because she can make more. She could snap on them one day. She doesn't care. She could just kill for fun. Like, having a character with that much freedom is weirdly the most challenging, because you have to find a balance of what's too ridiculous, what's reasonable, and like, or does it need more? And like, that's the thing with someone like Satan, where she's on her own domain. She doesn't care. She doesn't have feelings. We have this like wench character that we're going to be introduced to called Iris, and like, she could just be a throwaway character, or she could be a character that could linger on for a while. It doesn't matter to Satan. So I think she was definitely the most challenging character to write, but at the same time, she's also equally the most fun to write, because
Yeah.
there's like, you with Satan especially. I tell myself, don't hold back writing her.
Yeah, I mean, Satan in general. There's so many interesting depictions of Satan in media
Yeah.
in general. Hot chick Satan, I don't think I've seen before though. This is a
um
unique one.
yeah, so when it came
Actually, no,
from,
well, not one that looks like this at least. So, like, how
yeah.
when it came to designing Satan, like, what what made you like? What were your influences? What made you decide to go about it this way?
So ultimately, when I was researching some designs for Satan, I wanted to kind of think more outside the box, where I did want to incorporate that bad girl element. But, reading in the scriptures, Satan was depicted as God's most beautiful creation. And essentially,
Oh,
Satan is basically a fallen angel. So
right.
I wanted to give like that ethereal vibe. Like, I didn't want to give her like the whole like black, like, black garments, and like very dark and haunting, and like, or like big and bulky with the giant horns. Like, I wanted to give it more of like a almost like a chaotic but angelic look. And the one thing which I really liked this idea, the biggest misconception with this design of Satan is that those aren't devil horns she's wearing. It's
Mm.
actually, if you look at like a side profile of her when she's talking, it's flat. It's almost like a disc. And my intention for that was I wanted to make it kind of like a halo, but kind of also
Ooh.
that could look like it could be devil horns too, like a flat disc that like represents a halo almost. And I think that really exemplifies like the fallen angel. Like she could have been good, but she let chaos just kind of rip through her body. And also too, those black little like markings and tentacle things was heavily inspired by Witchblade, almost like how it just like morphs
I
on
can
her
see that.
face. And then yeah, and then when I hire whenever I hire an artist to draw Satan, one thing I'm very anal about, and we can go in like in a little bit we can go into like what I send artists, but whenever someone wants to draw Satan, I say one specific thing. I was like, her hair, just look at Ivan Rice's Lady Death run. That is her hair. That's how I like Satan's hair to be drawn. You know, I want the big peak. I want that big Lady Death peak. And I want just long locks of hair. And the more ridiculous, the better. And so like I said, she does have that element of that '90s bad girl character, but obviously with some more of like that fallen angel aspect. And like I said, it initially caught people's attention because A, it's a hot babe, but second of all, they're not used to that depiction of Satan. And like I said, they
Yeah.
expected the more dark and dreary, you know, big horns, maybe a male. But I kind of went a different route with it. And for some reason, as simple as the design might come across, it it's
Yeah, the
actually a
cutie.
very well executed design. What's up, Ken?
Yeah, no, it is. I didn't see. I'm the editor, and I didn't even know that about the horns. By the way, real quick, I want to stop sharing for a second. I think I might. I forget if I showed this earlier today or if it was the previous interview before that. But have you seen these biblically accurate angels?
Oh yeah, they're terrifying. Yeah, terrifying.
Yeah, there we go.
So if you ever played the game Bayonetta, uh, their versions of angels are kind of in this general ballpark, a little more like ridiculous looking, more like almost like clay pots and like old like sculptures, but in that same realm. And I'm like, those are terrifying. And like a real life angel like that, that is, you know,
Yeah.
imagine being greeted by that when you go to heaven. You're like, holy shit.
Yeah, I guess it's because I always, I never, I'd love to see depictions like that in media. It is cool, but this is pretty damn good looking too. I can accept this.
Yeah.
We got a lot of covers here. I will say, because I didn't expect to be especially second on the cover as an editor. Thank you so much for putting, let alone on the cover. Honestly, I think this is the first time my name is ever on the cover of a comic. So,
Yeah, you
thank
know,
you, man.
of course, man. You know, I look at it this way. Maybe it's just the Kubert school mentality, but you know, I see like there are books out there that I see even the colorist is not even credited on there, and I
Yeah.
think that's so shitty. And I feel like the one thing I tell whenever I hire someone new. For the immediate team for Purity, I always try to reassure the people that this character is just as much as yours as it is mine. So like I want you to be a part of it, and once you're a part of it, you're getting credited for it because that's what you deserve. You're contributing a lot to it. You're putting all your, you know, star power into it and helping me bring this character to life. So for really it's like the least I could do to credit you guys on the cover because I feel like you guys rightfully deserves to be
Yeah,
credited.
well, thank you. I do
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Yeah,
Is
no
my
problem.
audio low, by the way?
I could hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you fine. Does anyone else have if there's an audio problem, I can try to resolve it. I was playing with the audio settings earlier, but I thought I made it better. This cover, I love this main cover. I mean, these covers are great in general. I like storytelling covers. And one thing I will say, guys, as someone who's coming onto the series as an editor, this is a very good issue to get started on. So if you'll notice, even though it's issue 2, it's part 1, The Hunt. The first issue was, you should get, the first issue is an add-on, right?
Yep, you can get it as a physical add-on, or there is a tier if you're a fan of digital comics. You can get a digital catch-up tier as well for I believe it's $10. Oh, it's right there. Yep, $10. You
You
get
can
issues
do
1
that.
and 2.
But if you want to get it signed by me, at least if you want to get a signed copy, you should absolutely do that. We got some a lot of great covers here. I mean, holy shit, you got a lot of covers,
I
dude.
got 10 whopping covers, and that's the highest cover run I've ever worked on for a book. Typically, you know, it's very common in bad girl books to have a variety of covers, and to tell you the truth, there were some books I've seen that were offering almost 30 variant covers, and I'm like, that is nuts.
It's like
uh
dynamite
I
numbers.
Yeah, I had to cut myself off. I was like, 10's my limit for this book. I'm not going more than that. But I do think it offers, I look at it now in a way where I think having multiple covers can just bring more people. Each cover artist has their own following, and it will just attract those people to my book, and they'll read the book, they'll get the cover they want, and like I said, it's very common to see that in bad girl books, multiple covers. Plus, I think it's really cool to see how other artists draw my character, and I'm like floored almost every time. And one thing that I'm very open about is I'm very, like, some people, and it's nothing wrong, but I'm very, very hands-on with the creation of each cover. I give like an extensive list of references, what the character's about, the ideas of the cover that I'm looking at, and bounce back ideas. But typically, I'm very hands-on and picky with each cover artist. And why I say that too is because I know some people are more like, oh, just do whatever, do
Yeah.
whatever you feel sees fit. And I think that would drive me crazy.
I think it depends. I'm trying to find that balance, man. It just
Yeah.
not even just the covers, just in general. But like, I just got cover back because I was like, "Hey, can let's work on this?" Because especially if the cover is showing something that hasn't been drawn in the interiors yet, which my latest cover is, which is really cool. So my latest cover artist is also the trading card artist, and
Oh,
so
wow.
it's really what's really cool is she in those art pieces designed stuff that isn't in the book yet, which meant that she'll be credited no matter which version you get. But it's really cool. And yeah, man. I mean, it's just seeing all these different artists draw your character is great. Um, I'm biased toward yours, but I like a lot of these covers. I mean, all these covers are really cool. That one's
Yeah.
super unique.
Yeah, I think
Um,
they all offer like something different too. I think, ideally I wanted a variety of, like, the typical bad girl pinup covers, but also some of the storytelling covers. That cover in particular, the Len Danovich cover, a few people told me it was almost like Shakespearean. Like there was like a weird, like poetic Shakespearean vibe to this cover, and I'm like, I don't know what you mean by that, but I'll take it.
yeah, take it. Is it in alphabetical order, by the way? That's what it is, right? The names on the front.
Uh, no, I didn't put them alphabet. I just put like cover A, cover B. Like,
No, I'm saying our names on the cover. CCCW.
I didn't notice that.
What do you mean you did? Who lettered this?
Toriana Wilkinson.
Yeah, so
Uh,
but in the cover, I mean, she lettered the.
oh, that's me. Yeah, I did the trade dress.
You did that on accident?
Yeah.
You realize that is alphabet like C. You really didn't intend that.
I'll tell you the truth. My first ever job when I was like 14, I worked at my mom's doctor's office as a file clerk. And obviously you had to like alphabetize all like medical charts. It was personal torture, but that's probably why. It was like muscle memory as I was doing that.
Gotcha. I one thing I will say I really like about working with you as a creator is there's a lot of artists that because I think and I'm not saying this as to be a dismissive way, but I think any artist, objectively can create a comic book, right? I objectively, I mean, technically I can draw. I don't even then that's like I'd have to really it would not be good enough to even be considered a comic book. But any artist can technically draw a comic book, right? And so a lot of people, if you draw panels in a sequence and put dialogue in, that is a comic book and you technically did write it. And a lot of artists can do that. There are indie comics that I read that I felt have been that. But what I liked about working with you is that you were someone that going into this new issue, because I know working switching up creative team between issues must be a pain. And to kind of like I walk in, I'm not sure, what how the adjustment period for me it didn't feel like there was an adjustment period at all. It felt very easy because everything was set up in issue 1 and it was you had a clear plan of where you wanted to go. And my goal was to get you there. So I remember one of the first things I did was we got on the phone, we talked for like an hour or two. I just would ask you before I even got into specifics, what is your vision for the character? What is this? All right, I know you're a good artist. I like the way you draw. I like your colors. Who are your favorite writers? Because while there's overlap, like writing in itself is an art form. And what I liked about working with you is you really took the time to become a writer in addition to an artist. You're not just a guy who puts out a script. You're like, that's it. You were like, you're very receptive to criticism. And you're also a guy that like, if I explain what's this about, you don't go, I don't know. Generally, if you have something in the script, I always found you had, no, it's here for this. I do have an intention. Yeah. I didn't just want to draw it. It's here. And especially for a bad girl book where you could easily get away with just, oh, yeah, I mean, I just drew it because she's hot, and that's it. Yeah. To have all that intent and you're like, here's my plans for the future. Here's where this is leading. It was just a lot of fun working with you. And I will say the improvement, like the script was good, but the improvement you would show, how diligently you would work and take the edits and really run with them. Like you improved so much as a writer over the course of this one issue. It really is special.
Well, thank you, man. I really appreciate it. And like I said, you one thing that I really appreciate that you did was, it was kind of like prior to you on the book, it was always kind of like a muted thought where, there was reason for things, but it was never explained. And I think the biggest, and you called it out almost immediately where a common thing I would do is tell but not show. And so basically, in issue 1, Purity was told to the audience that she's this pure soul, but we barely saw much of her being a pure soul. And you cut that out immediately in issue 2, which I appreciate because especially since for those who aren't aware, I don't think I ever mentioned it, but the book originally was going to be 22 pages of story. The way me and Vaughn worked the revised version, it's now 29 pages of story, and there's reason
it was that many, but it was because I was like, wow, this feels like a lot more. Yeah, that makes
sense. And it was because Vaughn helped me really look at the character, and there's a really special scene. It's on the tail end of the book, involving Purity with these new with a group of people at the very end of the book, like a homeless couple.
Yeah, and I love that.
It's a very special. It's a very special scene, and because it really shows Purity's character and why she's so pure. And like I said, you kind of put me to the test on that, and I appreciate it because if I left that script kind of unattended and just went with the original script, it would have been kind of almost the same as issue 1, or even even I don't want to use the word worse because I liked issue 1, but it would just not be as strong. It wouldn't be a great second issue.
Let's put it this way: issue 1 does what a first issue needs to do. There are comics on the flip side that will just meander in issue 1 and be so into the character stuff that the plot doesn't happen. The plot, everything you need to know about Purity happens in issue 1. My whole thing with issue 2 is okay, now this is part 1. Let's allow this to be a part 1. Doesn't mean that there's not a story here. There is, but let's allow us to really care for the character because the way you had it written, the way you had the story structured, the A to B was very simple. It was very easy to follow the story. I just said let's refine these moments. And like I said, it was really easy working with you because you get your character, and because you, and it sounds like a weird thing to say, like what, but like sometimes that'll happen. The character will go, I'll be like if you really ask a writer and they're like, I've done this as like someone has asked me like, why did your character do this, and I'll be like and when that happens it's a problem. But you always like, the character does this for this reason. And when you even just talking through with someone, it really helps. And again, your character, when I asked you like what purity is about, you gave such a clear and concise answer for what the character is about at her core,
Yeah.
that you adding that scene, actually looking back in hindsight, because it was like, I almost, even though I know it was added, it was like I almost didn't notice because it felt so natural. Even though
Yeah.
I literally was there for the like when you added that scene, I didn't even think about it that it was like an addition, because it's such a natural thing for the character to do at that point. And again, that was one of my favorite scenes.
Oh,
The
yeah.
character really came into her own, I think, in this issue, and because of that, I think. Listen, the hot chick is going to get you for issue 1, and this is, I think, Nick and I talked about this. Maybe issue 2, but you're not going to stick with her for very. You'll hop on to the next because there's always a new bad girl book. You will hop on to the next one in a heartbeat if the story isn't great
Mhm.
and the character isn't great, because the book is called Purity and the character really shines through in this one. You really get a feel for her, where she's coming from, and I can't wait for, as a fan and a creator, I can't wait for issue 3. But god damn it, guys, we need to get issue 2
Yeah.
out first. I really want everyone to read this. Like, I'm proud of it, I'm proud of my work on here, and I'm proud of the team, everything I've seen. Like the pencils and stuff, the inks, everything you send me is really good. The art's coming in at a pretty good rate.
And I think too, what's a good, I always tell this, and I do apologize if I apologize to everyone when I tell this little thing, but the future of Purity, where I'm going for, it's like I might sound pretentious when I say this, but you know, like I said earlier, I was heavily inspired by like the predominant bad girl creators from the 90s, Billy Tucci, shout out to Billy, Brian Polito, and Mark Silvestri, and all the other creators who were doing this. And I wanted that long-term goal with Purity, where I want the 20 plus ongoing series issues. I want the crossover with another character. I want the trades. I want, it was a very cliche 90s thing, but for some reason, there was a medieval version of every bad girl character. So there was medieval Lady
Oh,
Death.
that's
There was
right. Oh,
medieval
now I gotta.
Witchblade.
Yeah, where's medieval
And
Witchblade?
I want something fun like that. And then ultimately down the road, and I was actually when we were at MegaCon Orlando, I was talking to a toy maker, and uh, down the road is like my 10-year plan. This isn't happening anytime soon, but like once I have a few issues, maybe a few trades of Purity, I do want to get a figure made. And for me, that was always like my I made it moment. The trades were great. And this is kind of, I don't want to say dick like assholey or like, because I do love, there's something special always getting a trade paperback. And I've worked on trade paperbacks. I've had my work print trades. It's a special thing, and that's great. But I feel at this point in the game, it's almost too obtainable, if that makes sense. Like I want more. Like I'm forever grateful of being put in a trade. I'm forever grateful to have a trade paperback. But now I want to think outside the box. And I think that's something like, like I said, I'm giving him a lot of airtime today, but like, you look at all the Lady Death campaigns, Brian Polito, he has action figures. He has an animated movie. Now he's making a Lady Death video game.
Yeah, oh, he is. I
Yeah,
have to catch up on. I like the Lady Death movie a lot. I know you said you
yeah.
think the comics are better, right?
The comics are better. I think I accept the fact of what the Lady Death movie is because it's not great, but it's like the only Lady Death movie we have at the moment. So it's like I appreciate it for what it is.
And I really got to read the comics because I thought that movie kicked ass.
The comics, I always recommend. The ideal run that I always loved was
Chaos comics, right?
Chaos, like the tail end of Chaos, where Ivan Rice took over. And then after the Ivan Rice run, I think just like the general current Coffin Comics run,
Coffin Comics. Sorry,
it's
the
easily digestible. It's great. It establishes everything. The art is beautiful. So like you could start pretty much either new Lady Death or moderately middle to old Lady Death. I think is good. But someone like Brian, he's a huge inspiration because he, like I said, he set the bar, but like he's going above and beyond. And these things are funding left and right. He has like, I have it right here. I have a Lady Death action figure, like the box design and all. Look at like this is like an important thing, and like obviously like now I think it's like in mid-April they're launching the campaign for the Lady Death video game that's going to be available on Switch, PS5, Xbox. So it's like those are now the next steps in with comics or even with like Purity, where I want to go like through the roof. I want Purity to be that next bad girl character that leaves an impression. And like I said, I apologize in advance if that sounds very pretentious, but this character has been in the making for 14 years, so she's definitely here to stay.
God damn it! Now I got to work on my. All right, I'm getting this book out. Thing is, I want issue 2 of mine, but now I got to compete with you, bad girl, or a crossover with our bad girl characters.
Oh, I would love that. Yeah,
because I think mine I want to have staying power too. But I will say this: Purity absolutely has staying power. And I'm the editor, but like, listen, man, I'm telling you, having read this and having conversations with Nick and where it's going, and just the character herself, like, and again, my frame of reference to Lady Death movies. You're the expert. You correct me where I'm wrong.
Actually, since I have shorts on, and you don't get to see anything like bad, I do actually have a Lady Death tattoo.
Oh, nice!
Right here, like. So yeah, I'm like a permanent Lady Death fan.
Yeah,
but
Purity, I'll say, is different because Lady Death is a much colder character, right?
Yeah.
A lot of bad girl characters are colder. Purity is very different. And I don't want to say, I actually, because it's weird because the arc she goes through, actually, the characters, like these moments that Nick adds, and even some of the ones that were already there. It's not like they were all added because of me. I just really, the way I saw it almost was like, and now, you know what, you did the pretentious thing, I'm going to one-up you. You know how there was like those Renaissance painters? Which one was it Michelangelo? You know better than I do. That was like he'd see the slab and he'd be like, "Oh, I see the piece on the inside."
I think it was Michelangelo. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it felt like with Purity. It was more just like it's mostly there. Let me just chisel away here and bring out what's already there, because what's already there is a very solid character, with potential. Because that's the thing I found. Character is the most important part of any story, right? If you have it doesn't matter if you have a great setup if your protagonist sucks. The protagonist, because we're taking the time to really develop the character and characters and villains to come as well, because we worked on the villains too. The villains are fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, it absolutely means that we have good stuff in motion, and then when the action goes down, it goes down. And like I said, Nick, who is the writer, penciler, and colorist, which means that's way more, not only is that more costly, that's more work for him. A dedication as a writer that he decided that the story needs this. And so he put more work on himself to add pages. It should have just been a 22-pager. This man added pages to make the story better, and it's paying off. So you're going to want to back this book. And like I said, if you ever see me at a convention, I would love to sign this. But let's make it happen first. Let me refresh. Yeah. We got 45 people watching this, by the way.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. On Twitter, I'm telling you, dude, Twitter is like popping off.
Yeah, and the good part, like I said, about this book is that it starts to establish even more into the story. We're introduced. Yeah. Oh, thank you. Thank you to new backer.
We can get more, guys.
Yeah. And you could tell too, especially some pages that obviously aren't on the Kickstarter page, but what I sent you, Vaughn, like there's a lot of airtime with Satan in this issue, and going back and forth of what's Satan doing while Purity is in the mortal world. And I'll tell you, like Satan is a very fun character to draw, especially too with a very long-haired character. I use the hair as like kind of like a design element through and through. But I'll tell you, I'm having a blast drawing this book. It's definitely for those who are familiar with Reign of Ages. With that book, it's a little more on the cartoonier end. Again, I wanted to, when I was drawing Reign of Ages, I was talking to the writer where I wanted to test the boundaries of how far we could take this bad girl book without making it like a textbook style bad girl book like this. So like pretty much the bad girl style I wanted for Reign of Ages was take the Hernandez brothers of Love and Rockets, make it into a bad girl book with a splash of like Elf Quest. And so it was definitely a little more experimenting with that book. But this book, like I said, it has been in my arsenal for years. And I knew going in, I wanted this to be a refined but textbook style bad girl book. It's actually more in tangent to, if anyone's familiar with Jim Ballard's Tarot Witch the Black Rose, it's kind of a little aligned with that, in a sense of just like the witches and heaven and hell. But yeah, it's a really great book, and we establish a lot of new characters this time around. If you scroll down, you can see the new bounty hunters that were experiencing Vex and Amadeus, and like even the design alone. Yeah, go up a little.
Did I pass my boys?
Yeah, right there.
Pass my boys.
Yeah.
I remember you sending me the character designs of them first.
Yeah, and they were very interesting because I wanted a comedically small character with a giant ass weapon, and then obviously Amadeus is you could tell my interests were very Mortal Kombat coded.
Oh, I didn't even pick up on that. I'm a big Mortal Kombat guy. Shame on me.
So he looks like he could definitely be like, I looked at him and I'm like, I want, if you take like an executioner and you make him into a Mortal Kombat character,
Now
what would
it
he look
makes
like?
sense.
And
I
so
didn't think of that.
yeah, and then like going down there, you can see like Satan. You could tell too, like Satan is vastly different, but you could tell as like a nod to Lady Death almost.
Yeah.
And then that was a money shot. That vape scene. I when Fran was inking this, I kept giving him shit because he likes to dabble in vaping sometimes, and I joke with him. And I'm like, Fran, take the hint. Like, this is an anti-vape ad. Like, literally slices off his hand, like a clean like swipe.
You guys blow Fran. We'll get him on the team. We're gonna get the whole creative team for another episode down the line.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll solidify a date for that. But we'll get the anchor and the letterer for this book. This has been a fun book, man.
Yeah, it's really
the
fun.
Whole creative team. It's the hold on. This is the first comic I've ever worked on where I even including my own, where I physically met the whole creative team.
Yeah. Now, I wish they were all at the same time though, because I know there was like one show we met Tori, and then we met we were with Fran and MegaCon and like Tori. Yeah. So for those who don't know, like Tori, my letterer, she also works with Essential Sequential. So like there are sometimes like our show schedules align because she'll be at the Essential booth or she's tabling for herself, and I'm like, oh, Tori's here, and it was actually really cool. The last show we were all at, Tori was sitting right across from me, and Vaughn came in, and I'm like, triple purity signing right here, and it was like drawing like people left and right, and like if someone was like, oh, like would you like to sign? Sure. I'm like, oh well, the letterer is literally right behind you, and then if you see this like curly blonde haired kid throughout the convention center, he's the editor, so go find him and go like get it signed. And so it worked really well, but I'm still waiting for the one day we get like the entire gang at a show.
We'll get that. Well, it's not like it's that hard. Like my creative team, okay, if we got all the cover artists, that would be tough. But the core creative team, listen, I met all four of you guys, and then we'll all be on a show together. This is gonna be fun.
Yeah, and then like another thing too, I really liked, with this campaign, I wanted to make the tiers fairly reasonable. In a sense of, I know I do have, I think it's like to be completely frank, I've done a lot of Archie stuff. I've worked with a lot of Canadian clients. So I do have a share of international backers. And I wanted to give like their money's worth with some of the tiers over here, where I'm a firm believer that, you should offer quality digital tiers. I know some people are very against digital copies, and I'm fine with that. Like, we offered physical copies as well, but like, you scroll down, it gets like each tier, the highest digital tier, you get to receive this really beautiful print by a brand new artist. He's new into the game. His name is John Torkos, and I had
this
a
man, Nick Caponi, by the way, let me say, as the Kubert School guy, he has all the connections to the upcoming artists. So if you want to snag anyone before they're famous, Nick's the guy to talk to.
Yeah, no, it's the Kubert School is like a vessel because you never know who really went to the school
I
until.
gotta talk to this guy, John. Holy shit!
Yeah.
I mean, I assume this is like a more. Is this guy as a QB?
Yeah, he's
I
a
assumed
recent
he was-
graduate.
I assumed he was like a pro with a lot. Wow.
Yeah,
I mean, he is a pro now, I guess. But wow, man.
Yeah. So that is offered as a digital print, but the $8,000 stretch goal, if we hit it, it's going to turn that digital print into a Kickstarter exclusive variant cover. And it's really special. Like, I've really loved how I printed that, especially with John. I've taught John since he was like 11 years old, when he was going to like the kids classes at Kubert. And so me and John go back, but to see him evolve into this, and I jokingly tell him I brought him to the dark side of Bad Girl Comics, this little like Christian man. I'm corrupting him. But yeah, no, it's really special if we got to that $8,000 tier where we see it as a cover. And then that cover below is by my friend Jen Leonard. She's a Zenoscope artist, and she has her own tier as well. If for $45, I believe it's the Satanic Panic tier, and I knew I wanted that tier from the get go.
Satanic Panic. Yeah, I was looking at this. Obviously, it's a great name.
And so
Where do we go?
basically, you get the two Satan covers. And one thing about me, not to go on a tangent, but each issue of Purity, there is going to be 1 to 2 Satan-centric covers. Only because I know a lot of people love Satan. Whether you're a Satanist or you just love a sexy redhead, you will have an option to get a Satan cover of some sorts. So for this book, I did want to combine the 2 Satan covers and the Jen Leonard print that could be turned into a cover at the $8,500 goal. But yeah, it's a really fun tier. I have a lot of mix and match options too. So say if you want 6 covers of the run, you could shuffle however you wish. You could have, 2 of the same cover. You could have like the first 6 covers. You could mix and match. I wanted to give that option to people. And then even for add-ons, I offer, and this is really cool because it's been a popular request. So an add-on that will be offered on the campaign is sketch covers. So you can get your very own Purity #2 sketch cover to complete with your order.
Where's that? Is that on? Oh, that's the add-ons. Okay.
Yeah, it's in an add-on.
Oh,
so
you got commissions here too. This guy does great. I've seen you do. I'm gonna get a commission from you at some point. You're always working on whatever I see you at a con.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm sorry. Continue.
Yeah. So people love sketch covers, and you can go, I dare you, but you can go to, like, say, Mark Silvestri and ask him to draw Purity, and then I'll probably steal that from you. The creator will straight up steal that Mark Silvestri Purity from you. But yeah, you can go to your favorite artist and, they could draw Purity, or you can come to me or anyone on the Purity team and, they could take a go at it. But yeah, I feel like sketch covers for this kind of book was pretty ideal. So I wanted to incorporate an add-on just to get a feel of how many were being bought in this campaign, and then depending on how many were going, probably for issue 3, I'll just make it an actual tier. So I really wanted to give that for the convention goers and people who are interested in sketch covers. Your time has arrived. Like your time is here. You can get a period number 2 sketch cover. And I know it's crazy to think this, but I always am a firm believer in working essentially on the next issue as you work on the current issue. But I do have a lot in store for issue 3. The fight's not over with this story, as I mentioned, and as Vaughn mentioned. This book is going to be here for a long time, so you definitely want to. We're going to be introducing one of the main antagonists in issue 3, if you want to call her that. And then
what
like
you're talking
2.
about. Oh yeah.
Yeah, so it's a lot of fun, and you want to stick around for the ride. And yeah, Purity is gonna be like, I jokingly gave her the tagline, the newest bad girl on the block.
Yes.
But she's definitely gonna be a favorite. I tell people, if you're a fan of Rob Liefeld's Evangeline meets Lady Death and Witchblade, this book is right up your alley. It's not particularly a superhero book, but it's more of like that fantasy mixed with a little cyberpunk and a little bit of religion as well.
A little
And
fish out of
lots of
water. Trying to think of. I'm gonna have to think of more comparables because like I know it's as soon as the stream ends, I'm gonna think of more comparables. But holy shit, I totally forgot about the stretch goals because of this, and like I was waiting for you to finish because guys, I want these prints. If we could let's get the book funded first. But if we could get these prints, the trading card, I want all of this. This one is dope too.
Thanks. Yeah, that was an original print I had lying around that I just recolored, and I was like, this would make a cool stretch goal to have, like, on just an extra print to have. I like the 2 sides to a story. You see Satan's side, and you see Purity side,
The
and
names are great for all of this, by the way.
oh, thank you. Yeah, and then the one thing too, the first stretch goal is the trading card. Each issue is going to be having a new trading card. I know it's very 90s looking. That's the intention, but I feel like that also gives like a kind of like a side collection. As you collect each issue of Purity, you're also getting a new trading card. And so that way you collect them all. I'm working with this artist I color for a long time. His name is Justin Hunt, and he's like the card guy. The next one, I have a few characters I'm trying to pick which one I want next. I'm kind of going closer to Kyron, who was an issue 1 character, but that could change. But yeah, each issue is going to have a trading card, and gotta collect them all, as the youngins say.
Oh yeah, gotta catch
Gotta
them all.
gotta catch them
Oh
all.
man, yeah. I was talking about Pokemon earlier today, dude. I love Pokemon. Actually, the last 2 interviews I had, we went into Pokemon discussions. But yeah, dude. This all looks great. So are these gonna be like? Because I sorry, these aren't prints. I had misread. These are variant covers. Does this mean they'll be available for purchase once you hit this?
Yeah, so their prints turn into covers. So the John Torkos print, the Heroic Hellion print, is a digital print option, and that stretch goal will make it into a physical cover. And same with the Jen Leonard Satan print, that will turn into a cover if we hit 8,500.
How do
And
digital prints work?
so usually when I send digital rewards, I usually use Dropbox, and just send the link out in the messages. And I would just make it into a giant folder. And I make like lots of folders, like, oh, this is the Satanic Panic bundle. This is this bundle. This is, the Ultimate Hellion tier or whatever. Like I make certain folders with the precise rewards in there, and just give the link to the backer, and they could download it. And yeah, that's their digital reward. That's how they receive it. I know there are a few other ways people navigate digital rewards. I forgot the other. I think it was like Gumroad. That's how one person got digital. Like that's how like one person was distributing them. Trying to think where else. Google Drive, but yeah, I usually use Dropbox for that.
It looks dope, dude. All these look dope. I mean, I'm really now like, cause it's weird because I'm obviously part of the creative team, but even outside of that, man, I just want a lot of people to read this and get excited for it. Not just so I stay in work, guys. There's other reasons too. I'm excited for the story. The story is gonna kick ass. It's got all this potential. It really does. It's one of those books where I could say, even though I wasn't there from the well, I promoted it from the beginning, but I wasn't there on the creative team. Missed it by one issue. I'm glad I came on when I did, because honestly, someone else did the heavier lifting. They came up
Yeah.
with the backstory, and I was just like, all right, I'll take it from here. Um,
Yeah.
but I will say it's something that it's like, just being a part of this is great, because it really, this is an IP that has potential.
Mhm.
And I really think you guys will enjoy this issue. Dude, this
Yeah.
page is good too.
And
I
just
like
to,
this
and
one
just
in the
to,
script, but man, seeing it come to life,
yeah,
it's really
that
nice.
was a fun page. And like, I really, and like, I watched Fran ink this, and that second panel, the way he was lighting the face up, I was like, Fran, you're killing it. Literally, I was so happy with how this page came out. Um, and yeah, like, it's a really fun story. I have a lot in store. My ultimate plan is, I'm planning to end the first arc after issue 4, and then I'm gonna launch a trade paperback, and I'm aiming to do this probably around next summer. But the one thing that I this is the first that I'm announcing it on live and in real time in front of people. But in that trade paperback, if you guys want to trade weight, or please don't trade weight, buy the single issue. A firm believer of getting floppies, but for the trade paperback, when the time comes, I am going to be also including in that trade paperback a 48-page brand new story that is all about Satan and Satan's origin and what's Satan doing while purity's above. It's a Satan centric story, and it's only in the trade paperback, and I'm very
Ooh,
excited to write it. I was doing some drafts about it as well, but it's really going to be special. It's going to be, if you're a fan, like I said, of Satan, the
you're a
redheads,
fan of Satan.
the more evil side of the bad girl comic genre. Definitely, you wouldn't want to miss out on that. And then, yeah, you don't like, this is a great story to pick up, guys. It's definitely not for kids. I put it in the campaigns for mature audiences. There's blood, there's violence, there's sexual themes, there's very suggestive themes as well. So do me a favor, don't give this to your kid. I'd say, you know what? It's 18 plus, but maybe like an NC 17, turning 18, they could read it, but it does have a lot of graphic issue 1 more than issue 2, but there is a lot of graphic content throughout these pages. So just be aware of that.
Everyone, check this book out. You're gonna love it. But let's get it. If we want to get it to that trade, if you want this to be there from the beginning, there are some first appearances in this issue, so this will go up. The first, also Vaughn Coleman as editor, of course. So collector's item right here.
Yeah.
First appearance of me on a cover. First time I'm ever on a cover. My name. So anyway, a lot of reasons to pick up this issue. Not a whole reasons not to, honestly. I would say do it, and I think, dude, Twitter is popping off. We are at 56 views right now. So I'm gonna refresh one. If we could get over to 2,500, that would be great. If I want to see hit 1,000 backers. I mean, well, that I'd love to see. 100 backers, and if we could get to 2,500, I think those two will come together hand in hand. Let's see. I'm gonna refresh one more time, or actually, I'm gonna refresh in this tab first to make sure.
Yeah, and we're literally 24 days left. So it's crazy to think that in the first, 5 days we're already like 35% funded. So it's very cool, and I'm very grateful for that as well. You
Yeah.
know.
It'll keep going. It's because it's been consistently. I've had this open in a tab just out of curiosity. The numbers are consistently going up, man.
Hmm.
And I think they're gonna continue to. I think this is
Yeah.
a book that a lot of people are gonna want to back. I think it's an interesting one. How far along are you, by the way?
So I'm about, I want to say, eight-ish pages penciled. Fran has, I think I sent Fran two more pages to ink. Pretty much I'm going at a consistent pace. I'm a firm believer, and people are either for this or against this. Again, nothing wrong about the approach that you have. Some people prefer the book to be fully done before launch. Some people prefer a percentage of the book to be done before launch, which I usually go down that route. The one thing for anyone out there trying to launch a Kickstarter, the one thing you shouldn't do is launch a campaign and have 0% of your book done. That's a
No,
no-no.
no,
At
you
least
don't want
I'd
that.
say at least if you penciled a good chunk of it or penciled and inked a good chunk of it, as long as you have content that you're able to show to people and work through the campaign, the quicker your book comes out, and you could fulfill quicker. But I'd say like I'm about 25-30% into issue 2 of Purity. So we're making good progress. I'm aiming to fulfill July, August of this year. And then
No, I'm
once
probably gonna
it's
fulfill around the same time. That's good for me.
yeah, and then once September hits, that's where I'm aiming to launch issue 3. I know it's cutting into Christmas. I know it's a little risky, but with the schedule that we have uh, for up to the trade paperback, uh, I don't want to say I can't avoid it, but I could work with it. I'll see what I can do. But I'm just like I said, I'm gunning for that trade paperback. So the show must go on because I am aiming to. So in a perfect world, I launch issue 3 August, September, and then issue 4 I wait till March of 2025, and then once I fulfill that, probably granted, July, then I launch the trade paperback. And then and then just go in that same cycle. So, like I said, in a perfect world. So I'm trying to follow that schedule.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, this looks great. The book is gonna be kick ass. I know a lot of people are gonna really enjoy it, and I'm excited to see what you do next, man. I'm gonna always have to co-stream to Twitter. So while you people are watching on Twitter, I'm gonna have to drag some of you guys over to YouTube. My channel, of course, just look up Vaughn Coleman. You'll find me because after this stream, I am gonna be playing some Final Fantasy VII Rebirth on my YouTube channel. So make sure to do that. If you guys check that out, it's gonna be fun. But everyone, make sure to back Purity. This book, I mean, it's gonna be great. It's got my seal of approval, and that is, of course, very important. Nick is working hard. He is a Kubert school guy. He's got look at the murderer's row of talent he's got at his disposal with all the covers and everything. This is a great IP. It's a project that I'm proud to be involved with. I'm proudly promoting, and I'm excited for it. And I hope you guys back this. If you're on the fence, get over that fence. All right, we need you here. We
And
want you
trust me,
here,
guys, like I
and
said,
you
there's
want to
so
be
much in
here.
store. And like I said, this is coming from a place at 14 years in the making. So, studying the greats, I want to, this is going to, again, I'm on a very pretentious role tonight, but, I want to revolutionize how the new age of bad girl books are represented. And I want to, bring you the next wave. I want to be part of that fight of the next wave of bad girl books to leave an impact into the world. And I think Purity is, like I said, going to be the one. I think, this is definitely a character you want to keep up with, and I won't let you down. And I know that this story is going to, it's a gut feeling. I know this is going to leave an impact in some way.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And, it is. It is. And I'll have to get my bad girl back out of the woods to join this, but Nick is leading the charge, and I'm happy just to be along for the ride and helping it give it the push that it needs and deserves, because this book kicks ass. So anyway, guys, make sure to sign up for that. Stay tuned to my channel. I have more interviews coming up. I'm going to be interviewing Mike Barron this week. Check that out. I'm going to be playing some Final Fantasy VII right after this. I am launching my own comic April 19th. I'm going to play the trailer for it now as we head out. But again, mods, share that link out. Go to Kickstarter, check out Purity the Hunt 2, go to RebelOasisStudios.com or just find the link, it's in the description here, to the mailing list. Join up and check out this sweet trailer as we head out for the night. I'll see you guys soon.
All right. You guys.
When the whole world was dragged into World War III, brave men like my father fought on the front lines. And they weren't alone. That was 20 years ago. Now it's up to us to carry on their legacy. And every so often, the earth from which we come gives way for something new, something greater to be born. And with them, even greater threats to face. Bring it on! Phenomenal. For you, Dad. For you.